I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Good morning, and welcome to our 2023 Veterans Day Assembly. Students, faculty, staff, administration, parents, grandparents, and most importantly, our distinguished guests who have served our country in our armed forces, we are so honored to welcome you to today's ceremony. You don't have to look far in the headlines these days to know that there are significant sources of conflict in our world today. Sadly, there are wars raging in Ukraine and in the Middle East, and tensions in many other places as well. In a recent article in the New York Times, columnist and author David Brooks put it this way: "We're living in a brutalizing time." But then he qualified that statement by saying, the first thing to say is that we in America are the lucky ones. We're not crouching in a cellar waiting for the next bomb to drop. I would suggest, and I don't think that David Brooks would disagree with me, in saying that it's not just a matter of luck that we're safe and secure. Our security as a country is due to the leadership, the sacrifice, and the commitment of those who have served in order that our nation might stand and lead in a world riddled with tensions and global challenges. Today, we honor those who have served our country through this special assembly and through a day of rest and relaxation tomorrow. But as you enjoy tomorrow's holiday, I hope you will take a moment to recognize that you have the opportunity to rest because there are those who have sacrificed by serving our country in such a powerful way. As President Kennedy said on Veterans Day in 1961, "In a world tormented by tension and possibilities of conflict, we meet in a quiet commemoration of a historic day of peace. In an age that threatens the survival of freedom, we join together to honor those who made our freedom possible." In the moments to come, we will honor our veterans through several performances, readings, and through our guest speakers. I just want to say I'm deeply appreciative to our Director of Auxiliary Programs and Civic Engagement, Jenny Rains, for her hard work in coordinating today's event. And at this time, we are so pleased to invite our lower school chorus to sing the national anthem, and please rise as the song begins.
I
The reason I'm proud of America. America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, has been a source of inspiration for countless individuals around the world, myself included. America's commitment to freedom, democracy, and opportunity has encapsulated its motto, E pluribus unum, out of many one, continues to inspire me. Firstly, Americans' dedication to freedom inspires me every day. An example of Americans' dedication to freedom is how more than 41 million people have served for the freedom of this country. Another example is the Declaration of Independence, with Thomas Jefferson's words still famous today. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This shows how freedom isn't a privilege but a birthright in America. Additionally, the democratic ideals that America upholds are another source of inspiration for this country. Some of these democratic values mean everyone has a voice no matter their background. People vote to choose their leaders, ensuring their opinions matter. Freedom of speech lets citizens express ideas openly. Respect for others' rights is fundamental for promoting equality. These principles shape America, making it a nation where diverse voices and opinions are valued and respected. Another example of something to be proud of is America's cultural diversity. People from all over the world bring their traditions, foods, and languages, making our country a home for everyone. Learning about different customs helps us understand one another better, from celebrations to daily life. This diversity helps our experiences, teaching us to appreciate various backgrounds. It's what makes America unique and shows the beauty of embracing differences, making us proud of our rich history and culture. We can be proud of the battles America has won for our country, our brave soldiers who have fought to protect our freedom and keep us safe. Their sacrifices and courage remind us of all the strength and unity of our nation. These victories inspire us to cherish our freedom and work together to make America a better place. These are just some of the many reasons to be proud of America.
We will be sharing real letters from veterans of several different wars throughout the history of our country. Each letter gives you a little glimpse into the lives of those serving our country and reminds us of the sacrifices made to ensure freedom for each and every one of us. The first letter is from Michigan-born Archibald Simmons, who wrote to his sister Nellie on July 18, 1863, while serving with the Union Army in Tennessee during the Civil War.
Dear sister, you no doubt have heard of our advance before this. We left Murfreesboro June 24th. On the first day, long towards evening, we fell with the rebels and had a light brush with them. They fell back to a place called Hoover's Gap, where they thought they could bring us to a halt.
The rebels had taken their positions on the hill while their batteries were so placed so as to have the command of the grass. We lost a good many killed and wounded, and we took a good many prisoners. We thought surely they would give us battle at Tullahoma, where they had fortified so strongly, but we were disappointed. We are now camped near a place by the name of Deckard, waiting for supplies. Deserters are coming in every day from the rebels' ranks. They report that the mountains are full of deserters, mostly Tennesseans, who swore they would not leave the state. I will have to bring my writing to a close on account of nothing of importance to write. Do not forget to write and tell me all the news. From your affectionate brother, A.O. Simmons.
Corporal William Yost of Butte, Montana, fought in the Spanish-American War in the Philippines in 1899. Yost's letter was sent to Hilma Hansen, daughter of Peter and Anna Hansen, May 5th, 1999.
Dear Hilma, please excuse this paper, but it's all I can manage to find, and I'm lucky to have it as paper as an article scarce here at present. Yes, I did succeed at last in getting shot, and with an old brass bullet at that. It struck me in the left hip. Entering in the front, it struck the hip bone and glanced downward, passing through the thigh, and lodged just half an inch under the shin at the rear from where the field surgeon removed it. I couldn't realize for a moment that I had been shot. It felt more like standing on a railroad and getting knocked off by the Lightning Express. I let a yelp out of me and slapped my hand over the place in my trousers where it had entered. The doctor and litter bearers came up. The doctor had the old slug cut out, a bandage put on, and was off to the next one quicker than you could wink.
Our poor little company had got more than its share of hard fighting. Out of 48 men, we have had 4 killed and 14 wounded, with a good prospect of losing more before this thing is settled. Yes, we are laying down our lives for a noble cause, but I have only one life to lay down. When that is gone, I'll be out of a job. Regards to your father and mother, to the boys, and all the rest of my friends. Goodbye for this time, hoping we may be home before the snow falls. I remain your sincere friend, Will.
Joseph Porter Toole was the son of former Montana Governor Joseph K. Toole and Lily Rosecrans Toole. During World War I, he was called into service December 3, 1917. Commissioned as a first lieutenant of infantry, he arrived in France on July 12, 1918, and served with distinction. Here are excerpts from one of his letters home.
Dearest mother and father, your prayers and thoughts are with me. That is what your letters tell me, and that is why I'm safe and well this Thanksgiving evening. I write to you by candlelight. That your prayers and thoughts have been with me has helped me to do things that I might otherwise have faltered in doing. I thought of you and your prayers yesterday when I marched the company down the street and, as a preach approached, heading a funeral procession, mother with tears in her eyes. I gave thanks that you were spared of such grief. You will never know how close death came to one who loves you and longs to be with you. I believe that every man in the company thought of his parents as the little procession passed by and breathed the same thanksgiving that was on my lips and in my heart at that moment.
Further into the letter, Toole provides a brief account of how he was wounded in action.
On the morning of the 28th of September, we were again the leaders of the attack. We had many machine gun nests to contend with, and there were many casualties. Our battalion stopped a German counterattack, but it was in this rush that I was hit by a machine gun bullet and sent spinning on my ear. I was taken back about half a mile and there lay overnight in the rain until the stretchers got me in the morning and I started back through the chain of dressing stations and evacuation hospitals that finally sent me to base number 6, Bordeaux. I must close now with much love and best wishes for you, your loving son, Jody.
6 months later, the Tooles received another letter. This one was from Captain Charles T. Boucher, Jr., Sunday, 2nd of March, 1919.
Dear Mr. and Mrs. Toole, through chance, I've been in close association with your son Joe since his enlistment in Uncle Sam's forces to the present time. I was in the fight beside Joe, and I want to say he was an officer and leader who deserves a bit of mention to you at home. When our forces were a bit shattered by some severe shelling, Joe was placed in command of a company not his own, led them in battle. Then he reverted to his own company, and I was nearby when he was ordered forward under deadly machine gun fire. He went readily and was doing bravely the severest task that ever confronts a man in battle. He does not receive a medal, nor did he receive a promotion, but he gained the highest esteem and regard from his fellow officers, and I will say almost the love and worship of the men. And that is the biggest reward after all.
Lieutenant Irene Moore joined the Army Nurse Corps in 1943 during World War II. She was stationed in North Africa from 1943 to 1944, and then in France. North Africa, September 19, 1943.
Dear Mom, Marg, Eric, George, and B. Today, Sunday, everything is very quiet in the ward. Boys are all quiet. No rough play so far. It's certainly different taking care of them. They really appreciate things done. They enjoy most, and what they themselves admit does them the most good, is to have an American nurse to talk to. Listen to them talk about the battlefront. They can't write about it, have to get it off their chest some way. There's an Italian boy from New York. He has a long first name, and for short, he has always been called Buddy. I came in the other morning, nonchalantly passing, said, "Hi, Bud." He wrote a letter later to his mother. Said it sounded to him so much like he used to be home, and he hadn't heard it in so long. Told her it was the highest morale builder he had for a long time. It's just simple little kindnesses sometimes that help so much.
After briefly mentioning a recent dance she attended and begging her mother to send her some pajamas, Irene continued.
Mom, will you get the September American magazine and send it to me? There's a picture in it of Captain Douglas Smith, who is the world's leading guerrilla warfighter. I got to know him quite well on the ship. Since being here, I've met General Roosevelt, son or nephew of Teddy Roosevelt. He's a most interesting person, having been all over the world. We all chatted together for over an hour. One meets people from all over the world, people of one's fame and otherwise, down deep inside. Down deep inside, though, we're all alike, all fighting for the same cause and freedom of our families, friends, and allies, for the preservation of the generation that follows us. One thing we've all discovered, after this war is over and we're all back home again, among us, there will be less griping and more appreciation for the simple things that all our lives we've expected and taken for granted. I don't regret leaving, though. I'm glad for it, to see how other peoples of the world live and the manner in which they derive happiness out of life. Love and kisses, Irene. Brothers John and Robert Harrison were raised in Harlingen, Montana. They both joined the U.S. Reserves during World War II and served in Europe. John was stationed on Utah Beach. Robert served in the 101st Airborne Division in his efforts during D-Day and the Battle of the Bulge. John C. Harrison to his father on January 16, 1945, regarding news of younger brother Bob, who was declared missing in action.
This is going to be pretty rough on medicine for you, old-timer. But things being as they are, I think we had better face the facts. Bob is missing in action. Bob's unit was overrun by 10 Tiger tanks and infantry. From that time on, the picture gets a bit dim. After 3 days, all but 20 of the company got back to division. Some reported, but this has not been verified, nor am I writing this to Mother, they saw Bob get hit. In the confusion, nothing more was seen.
After 2 weeks, Robert writes to his father, January 25, 1945, from a prisoner of war camp.
Well, old man, here I am in a permanent camper-style log. So when this letter makes the rounds, let all know they can write me here. Waiting the war out is tedious, but not dangerous. Lord, though it makes one think of home. Believe the wanderlust is gone. I had so much time to evaluate what I want, and it all adds up to Montana and family.
John wrote to his family on May 14, 1945, from Germany, conveying news of Bob's death.
Please forgive me for writing this one letter to you all, but I just do not think I have it in me to say more than once what I have to say now. I have been so shocked by the news that I hardly know just what to write. I am sitting here trying to work it all out for myself, but will try to help you see the picture. It is just like Bob to decide that he had enough pushing around from the Krauts and decide that he was coming home. So when the opportunity presented itself, he just took off. The one thing wrong with the idea was it was too soon. Why? Why couldn't he have waited?
Germany was officially liberated by early May of 1945. The following is an extract from the official report of Corporal Granville Armel, who was with Bob on the escape.
On the morning of the 6th April 1945, Lieutenant Harrison and I escaped near Bergen-Windham, Germany. Around 200 hours on the April 11th on Beach-Versenberg Highway, we started across a bridge about 13 kilometers west of Erbach. Just as we reached the center of the bridge, a German sentry fired on us. Lieutenant Harrison, who was leading, was hit and died instantly.
I realize that nothing I can say can soften the blow, but I just want to talk to you as I know Bob would want me to, and as I would have wanted if something had happened to me. There is nothing in the world that can change what has happened, and though we will miss him more than any of us can tell, we must go and live on our lives. I have hopes that in the not-too-distant future, we can be together again. A few years ago, the country needed me more than even my family, but now, after 4.5 years in the service, I feel that I have done my job. I promise that if possible, I will come home. In the meantime, you must carry on and wait for what happens next. My love and every thought is with you, your loving son, John.
The next letter is not a letter at all. It's a diary from the Vietnam War. But perhaps we should think of it as a soldier's letter to himself and to future generations. At age 20 in 1963, Jerry Simpson joined the United States Marine Corps as a cook. As part of the first major U.S. military buildup in Vietnam, the 3rd Marine Division, including Jerry Simpson, was deployed to Da Nang in the summer of 1965. Jerry writes in his first entry of May 5th, 1965, the day they embarked from San Diego.
We're supposed to go to Japan, Korea, the Philippines, and operate out of Okinawa. Some feel we may end up in South Vietnam. Gosh only knows what lies ahead.
Jerry often mentioned his girlfriend Rita. They come in blinks. On May 24, 1965, he writes,
Rita wrote me a Dear John last night. She feels she would rather have a career than marriage. She asked me to go see her next June before I become involved. The trouble is, I am involved. Why did...
And then he doesn't write anymore that day. His next entry is not until June 29th.
We finally mounted out for Vietnam. Some of us won't be coming back. We're supposed to be back in Okinawa in September.
July 7th, 1965.
Arrived in Da Nang, South Vietnam. No resistance. The temperature is 120 degrees. We are now about 3 miles from the airstrip. Man, am I shook. Didn't think I would be. Well, we're still here, and we are to be here for a long time.
October 17, 1965.
Rita wrote and said she loves me. Man, I am the luckiest and happiest guy alive. My life now has a purpose and meaning to it. I love her so very much. I hope and pray I never let her down and can make her happy.
February 27, 1966.
Gunnery Sergeant Gardner told me I am going to Hill 22 tomorrow. I can't help but feel a little shook, as over there is where the war is. Yet that's why I'm being paid combat pay.
March 6, 1966.
Since being overseas, I have seen how wasteful Americans are when it comes to eating. We have had it so good. This place is beginning to really get me down. Home seems a million miles away, and like I'll never get there. Heard from Rita today, and I wish I could be with her. The love I feel for her could never be the same for any other woman.
June 27, 1966.
Today will be my last entry in this diary after 1 year, 1 month, and 12 days of writing. I wish I had been more diligent about this thing. This last year has left its mark on 598 of us from the 2nd Battalion, 9th Marine Regiment. That is all that made it home. I was lucky. I will never forget such people as Lance Corporal Larry Chadwick, PFC Howard Loven, Corporal Harold Rains, PFC Tom Lead, First Lieutenant Richard Williams, and First Lieutenant Jim Palmer. These are men who got the job done. There's nothing more to say. Gosh, it's grand to be back.
Jerry returned to Billings, where he married Rita. They had 2 children.
This last excerpt is from an email rather than a letter. Captain Corey Swanson, who served in Iraq during Operation Iraqi Freedom, sent the email to the National Guard historian on May 3, 2005. Subject, Eye of the Storm.
Oddly, we have been through so many crises already that now we all act coolly, quickly, and efficiently. I've been able to channel my worry and intensity into a calm delivery because I have found everyone around me responds and works better when I do. It is like being in the eye of the storm, knowing all is swirling around you. 3 nights ago, the storm hit us. An IED detonation killed a soldier and wounded 4 others in the blink of an eye. Immediately after, a massive storm literally hit us, and the patrols going out to help couldn't even see. We were calm, efficient, tough, and professional. But we still had a dead soldier we couldn't bring back. The young staff sergeant who led that patrol was extraordinary, beyond what is expected of a soldier. When we were done that night, he could no longer hold back the tears, and he broke down in the safety of the battalion aid station among his teammates. We have had many days like this where I felt myself being taken to the edge and stretched and strengthened in a way that only blood and fire can do. Unfortunately, we will probably have many more. When I first came here, I saw and wrote of all the good in Iraq. It is still teeming with promise and pregnant with potential, but I don't think many of us will leave our hearts behind here. We pour our hearts out for each other, and by the grace of God, we will all return safely home.
Thank you, Gage, for your beautifully penned essay on what inspires you about America and for expressing sentiments that I think we all share. And to our upper school speech and debate students, thank you for reminding us that there is a real human cost and enormous sacrifices that are made for the freedoms that we enjoy each and every day. Good morning. My name is Jenny Rains, and I am the Director of Auxiliary Programs and Civic Engagement. We are so honored that you have decided to spend this morning with us. And today we wish to celebrate each of you who currently serve or have served in our armed forces. I ask that you kindly stand when I call your name if you are able. And students, if you could stand alongside your family members when you hear their name. And we look forward to being able to give you this moment to let you know how much we appreciate each one of you. Audience, I ask that you hold your applause until these remarks, these introductions are over. Colonel George Allen, retired Air Force. Dana, you too. Thank you. All family members, please. He is joined by his grandson, John, in the 11th grade. Chief Petty Officer Don L. Allman, retired Navy. He is joined by his grandson, Robert, in the 9th grade. Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Arnett, retired Air Force. He is joined by his children, Andrew in the 9th grade and Isabella in the 8th grade. Lieutenant Colonel Emily Arthur, active duty Air Force, and Lieutenant Colonel Todd Arthur, active duty Air Force. They are joined by their son, Riker, in the 4th grade. Master Sergeant Stephen Barker, retired Air Force. He is joined by grandchildren James in the 9th grade and Thomas in the 6th grade. Colonel Chip Barton, active duty Air Force. He is joined by his son Ben in the 12th grade. Major Andrew Brinkman, retired Air Force, joined by Emma in the 12th grade and Aiden in the 10th grade. Colonel Hugh S. Bryant, retired Army. He is joined by grandson William in the 2nd grade. Colonel Craig Drescher, retired Air Force. He is joined by son Jack in the 3rd grade, who is also grandson to Colonel Michael McCormick, retired Air Force. Lieutenant Jacob Dubin, active duty Army. He is joined by children Sid in the 10th grade, Max in the 5th grade, and Lila Claire in the 3rd grade. Mrs. Maggie Dwyer, Air Force veteran. She is joined by daughter Livia in the 8th grade. Mr. Jeffrey Harris Flannery Sr., Navy veteran. He is joined by grandchildren John Harris in the 9th grade and Lizzie Lynn in the 7th grade. Captain Hugh Frazier Jr., retired Air Force. He is joined by grandchildren David in the 8th grade and William in the 6th grade. Colonel Charles Hamilton, retired Air Force, and Lieutenant Colonel Wendy Hamilton, retired Air Force. They are joined by Tally in the 11th grade. Mr. Robert M. Hardwick Jr., Army veteran. He is joined by grandson Chapman in the 9th grade. Lieutenant Helen Hobson, retired Navy. She is joined by her children, Austin in the 5th grade and B in the 3rd grade. Mr. Jordan Hunter, Marine Corps veteran. He is joined by his daughter June in the 5th grade. Tech Sergeant Donald Johnson, retired Air Force. He is joined by grandchildren Ella in the 2nd grade and Mary Wynn in kindergarten. Dr. Gregory Jones, Air Force veteran. He is joined by his children Madeline in the 12th grade, Owen in the 9th grade, Isabella in the 5th grade, and Emmy in the 4th grade. Dr. Arthur Mazik, Army veteran. He is joined by grandson Hudson in the 5th grade. Mr. James Merrican, Air Force veteran, joined by daughter Imogen. Army, excuse me. Oh. I apologize for that. Thank you. Rachel, that's Rachel's fault. Sorry. I'm just joined by daughter Imogen in the 5th grade. We are so glad you are here. Captain Edward Miles, retired Army. He is joined by children Sydney in 5th grade and Caleb in the 8th grade. Colonel Lynn Oborn, retired Air Force. He is joined by grandchildren Clive in the 7th grade, Vivian in 5th grade, and Celeste in 3rd grade. Lieutenant Commander Jason Ross, retired Navy. He is joined by son James in the 10th grade. Dr. Glenn J. Saucer, Air Force veteran, and Lieutenant Colonel Laura Saucer, retired Air Force. They are joined by grandchildren Kate and in the 2nd grade and Margaret in kindergarten. Lieutenant Colonel Brian Staniszewski, active duty Air Force. He is joined by son Michael in the 6th grade and daughter Ellie in the 4th grade. Lieutenant Colonel Doug Werner, retired Air Force. He is joined by children Nathan in the 4th grade and Eliza in the 1st grade. Mr. Brian West, Marine Corps veteran. He is joined by his children Ruth in the 3rd grade and Emily in the 7th grade. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking our distinguished guests for their service to our country.
Thank you so much. This morning, I'm pleased to welcome MA parents, Colonel Charles Hamilton and Lieutenant Colonel Wendy Hamilton, to be our featured Veterans Day speakers for this year. Colonel Charles Hamilton and Lieutenant Colonel Wendy Hamilton both retired from the United States Air Force in 2014 and 2011, respectively, after collectively serving their country for 45 years. Both were commissioned through the Reserve Officer Training Corps in the late 1980s, and after their initial training, Colonel Hamilton began his career as a B-52 bomber pilot, stationed at Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana, and Lieutenant Colonel Hamilton began her career as a KC-135 air refueling navigator at Wurtsmith Air Force Base, Michigan. They met in 1996 right here in Montgomery at Maxwell Air Force Base and married in nearby Lounsboro, Alabama. Throughout his military career, Colonel Hamilton flew several aircraft, including the B-52, T-37, T-38, and T-6. He was an instructor pilot, teaching others to fly, gain new skills, hone skills, and as a standardization and evaluation pilot, ensuring pilots met standards to safely fly their missions. Additionally, Colonel Hamilton commanded the 41st Flying Training Squadron at Columbus AFD, Mississippi. He was also assigned to several staff and command positions in Air Combat Command, Air Training Command, and Air Force Global Strike Command, culminating an assignment at the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. He served in Iraq on 2 deployments, including time as Chief of Staff of the 321st Air Expeditionary Wing, Iraq, commander of the 321st AEAG, also as Base Commander and Senior Airfield Authority in Kirkuk Air Force Base, Iraq. Colonel Hamilton also served as the commander of the 422nd ABG and base commander of RAF Crowton, RAF Fairford, and RAF Welford in the United Kingdom. Lieutenant Colonel Hamilton transferred from active duty service to the reserves in 1998 and retrained in the C-130 airlift airdrop aircraft. She served in multiple squadron positions in Air Mobility Command and Air Training Command, and later taught courses that developed curriculum at several schools and at the Air Doctrine Center at Air University. Deployments took her to many countries in Europe, Asia, and South America, supporting training, humanitarian relief, and war efforts. Between them, the Hamiltons were permanently stationed in 12 different bases, some of them more than once. These assignments gave them the opportunity to connect with people from England to California. Some of their favorite memories are of serving through their church, sharing holidays with adopted families and friends, driveway picnics during Halloween, and discovering the uniqueness of each community they have served. After retiring, the Hamiltons continued in employment focused on service. Colonel Hamilton had the privilege of being a stay-at-home father for a year and then began teaching part-time. Lieutenant Colonel Hamilton returned to full-time employment in the Civil Air Patrol, where she is currently the Deputy Director of Cadet Programs. Colonel Hamilton recently answered a call to full-time ministry work and now serves as the Executive Director of the FBC Community Ministries. They have 3 children, a son, Taylor, who is a senior at Auburn University, Montgomery, studying business, a son, Preston, who is a junior at Auburn University, Montgomery, studying computer science, and daughter Tally, who is a junior here at the Montgomery Academy. Colonel Hamilton and Lieutenant Colonel Hamilton, it is our honor to have you join us today to share these special remarks with our students, faculty, and guests. Thank you so much. Let's welcome them.
Well, good morning, Montgomery Academy. We are honored to be here with you. Thank you, Mrs. Raines, for extending the invitation to speak, and thank you, Mr. McWilliams, for allowing us this time. We're really excited to share our thoughts on Veterans Day with the students, the staff. My deepest thanks, my heartfelt thanks, especially go to the veterans here with us. I know a few of you personally, but I share a kinship with you all. So I am privileged to speak today with you. I also want to say, hearing Gage relate why he is proud to be an American and proud of America gives us hope for the future. And I also want to give a shameless shout out to the 5A state volleyball champion, the Eagles.
So Veterans Day is a serious day. You often hear Happy Veterans Day, and we are happy that we have veterans who have served our country. But there are some things that we'd like to just kind of think about a little bit as we have this holiday, and it's a perfect opportunity to think about honor and service. But I also sometimes scratch my head and I think, maybe Congress got the date wrong. Like, why did they pick the 11th hour, the 11th month of the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month? And yeah, I know it's World War I and Armistice Day, but I really think we shouldn't.
What are you talking about?
They should have picked March 4th, of course.
I'm gonna take over here. All right. I did promise no dad jokes, nothing about mom jokes. All right. So, if you've read our biography, you'll see that service really has been the major theme of our lives. Even before we met each other, we both felt called to serve, no matter where that was. But we were lucky enough to have the honor to serve in the military. We were so young when we started out. You know, there's what we looked like way back when. But it was a privilege. You know, we just got to start out. First, me as a pilot.
And me as a navigator, as you heard. And as you can see now, we are just a few years past being those wide-eyed 20-somethings, but we're not past wanting to serve, and we're not past wanting to do that honorably. If anything, being a member of the armed forces just really fueled that passion. It has remained our lifestyle choice.
This day in particular gives us the opportunity and a reason to reflect on honor in all of its meanings. First, honor means high respect and esteem. We should show our respect and great esteem to members of the armed services. They work hard to protect us, and in many instances, come to our aid in moments of great difficulty. Just think of how often you have seen members of the military serving locally in the aftermath of natural disasters or doing humanitarian missions outside the United States. We should honor our military families, too. Military service often takes you to places away from your family, missing celebrations and milestones. But those of us who serve in the military often speak of it as being a privilege and an honor rather than a hindrance and a burden. Take our family, for example. In our 30s, Winnie and I met while serving here in Montgomery. We flashed forward a few years and we're a family of 5. And then my mother, who retired as a professor at Samford University, moved in with us and traveled with us to see the world alongside us. This photo shows us at Columbus Air Force, Mississippi, where I was training pilots. Wendy chose to move into the Air Force Reserves, took a part-time position here in Montgomery so she could be home as much as possible. She was a military spouse supporting families in my unit, but she also still used her skills to serve our country.
And all of those were an honor and a privilege. And as I think about honor more, I also know that it's an adherence to doing something right, to a higher moral standard and a code of conduct. And like Gage mentioned, the United States is so blessed with rich cultural diversity. And because of that, military members desire to serve all Americans honorably. And we're able to do that because we adhere to a set of core values or that code of conduct. And you here at Montgomery Academy also have a code of conduct. That code of conduct asks you to value mutual respect. It asks you to be honest and to act with integrity and encourage others to do that as well. And those of us who have served in the military have very similar core values. And I don't know if you've ever really thought about it, but that connects us. Those core values are common ground, so we can establish a shared identity, bring those diversity pieces together, and it helps us focus on ethical behavior in the most difficult of situations. The codes also ensure that we hold ourselves to a very high standard no matter where we are, even in the midst of war. But I think the most important thing they do is they build trust. They build trust with each other, specifically when we're in the military serving alongside each other. And then it builds trust between the services, the armed forces, and the members of our community, the citizens that we protect. It is a strength of our nation.
Honor is also to fulfill an obligation or keep an agreement. Our service members are renowned for acting honorably, often coming to the aid of those who do not think the way we do or even wish us harm. We do this collectively because we're fulfilling our obligation to help spread the seeds of democracy and to ensure the basic human rights we enjoy in the United States are modeled elsewhere and that gives others an opportunity to enjoy the freedom that we do.
We also do this individually because it's the basis of living a life of integrity and authenticity. So honor and service don't end when we leave the military service. And I also would say that you continue to serve in your community. And that has always been true for us. So while we, the Hamiltons, and you can see in this picture, have shunned, or not shunned, but taken off our military uniforms, what remains with us is that service is our life choice. It's not just a few years in an organization. It's what you do. Serving your country stays with you throughout your life. You become committed to something more than yourself, and it becomes a defining characteristic of who you are.
So as we close our time with you here in this assembly, please allow us a moment of solemnity and to leave you with a charge. I hope you will remember to share a connection. Remember, you share a connection with those you serve by adhering to a code of honor. I hope you will honor military members and their families by just thanking them for their service. And finally, I hope you will remember those who have sacrificed their all. You are inheritors of their legacy. And I'll leave you with these words from the famous poem In Flanders Fields. It was written in the early days of World War I, before the Romanticism had given way to feeling of despair. But it reminds us that the struggle's not done and that all of us continue to have a role. It says, "Take up your quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch be yours, hold it high."
Thank you so much for those inspiring words, and we thank you for being a part of our community. At this time, we are welcoming our lower school chorus back again to conclude our program with the singing of a beautiful song called Let Liberty Ring. And I just want to again thank you all so much for being here, for your attention. I want to thank all of our special guests for being here today. You honor us with your presence here today. We are deeply honored. And I just want to also thank Ms. Fain and our lower school chorus for participating, and the lower school staff that helped everybody get over here this morning. I want to thank our speech and debate students for your work today in sharing these important words. And I want to thank our other student helpers and our greeters here today for making this such a special time together. And so now our lower school Eagle Airs.
Thank you, Lower School Chorus. Thank you, veterans, and to all who serve. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. This concludes our assembly.